Welcome back to Pint Podcast, and today we've been joined by Face of Sky Sports News, Tom White. So let's go on with the video. Cool. So if it's all right, Tom, I just want to start right at the beginning of sort of your Sky Sports and how you got into that, because I'm sure there's thousands and thousands of people who are watching think what a dream job that is, talking sports all day, and sort of how you come about getting into becoming a Sky Sports presenter.
The way I got into it was different to how you get into it now. There's a very clear path to get to to what I do now. If you want to be a broadcast journalist at Sky, there's a very clear path, which I'll tell you in a minute. But the way I did it was very different. I've been at Sky since August 2004. When I was still at university, I started by just applying for work experience. Now that's still the same, actually. Applying for work experience is the same. It's just you've got to have more qualifications now than you did then. Applied for work experience, got 2 weeks work experience, but on the second day, got asked if I could actually work for a few weeks logging tennis at the US Open, and getting paid for it, which was amazing. When I still had a year left at university. Yeah. So that was amazing for me. What I didn't know at the time, though, is that I had to be working from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. I didn't know that at the time. And that was before I had a car as well. And I was having to go from Luton to West London, where the studios are. Yeah. And so from that, I stayed at Sky, as well as finishing my last year at university as a runner. So making teas and coffees, doing the auto cue for the presenters. And I worked my way up from there. I was on the bottom of the ladder and just worked my way up. You know, it was a ladder that I wanted to be on. Now, for anyone who wants to get in, it's much more, but you wouldn't have to be a runner for a start. All right. And that's can be seen as quite demeaning. I loved it personally. For a lot of people, they think, I've just been at university for 3 or 4 years. What am I doing making teas and coffee? Which I can understand. It's not the way I saw it personally. I saw all the positives, like I was looking after the guests, meeting my heroes. But now, if you want to be a broadcast journalist or just a journalist, you do the NCTJ. That's a course you do. It's a 1-year course. I did 3 years at university, which I've never, ever needed. You do a 1-year course. That is your journalism qualification. Once you've got that, you can apply for jobs anywhere. That's what you need to get started.
Okay. Is that instead of a degree then, Tom? Is that like not done by university, but via broadcasters themselves, is it? Or?
No, that is your degree.
Oh, okay,
that is your qualification. It's a diploma. And so I did media at university. It was media performance. And I thought, having media performance, which was only done at 2 universities at the time, Luton and Salford. And Salford rejected me. I didn't get in. So I had one choice, which was Luton, which I loved. But it was 3 years and a course where I thought, right, I'm doing the right thing to get to where I want to be. Actually, I wasn't. But I loved it, loved university. The courses helped me in lots of ways, and passing exams and doing, being successfully completing modules and stuff. It helps you in life, definitely. It wouldn't help me get a job at Sky now.
Yeah.
And that was 3 years. And 3 years at university is a lot more expensive than 1 year at university. You can stay on and do your masters. Once you've got your diploma, your NCTJ, once you've got that, you can stay on and do a master's, which can only help. Mm-hmm. It'll give you a head start on those that don't, but that's only an extra year. So that's 2 years rather than the 3 that I did. But once you've got that, you can apply for any job within journalism, whether it be print journalism, whether it be at TV, radio, you can get going.
That's really good. And what you were saying there about the runners, I guess that's just the sort of way of life now, because it's quite similar to footballers, isn't it? Where the youth players had sort of cleaned the boots of the more experienced players and things like that. And we've had quite a few ex-pros on from probably that era. And they all say the same as you. They sort of loved it. They saw it as like a learning curve, a way to get in, and almost, I don't know if it's the same with journalism, but sort of earn the respect of of your peers and get to know them, learn a few tricks of the trade and things like that. So, yeah, it's like you say, it's 2021. It'd be seen as really demeaning now, wouldn't it? And you'd have more complaints than people saying it were good, probably. But yeah,
I guess the way I still see it now is that I was learning on the job, because I was seeing what everybody was doing. Part of the job, when you're looking after guests, means that, the guests are with the presenters, so you're looking after I didn't know at the time. I actually wanted to be a commentator, but when I was there, I realised I quite liked the presenting and reporting route. And you see in the way they do things, you see what they do right, you see what they do wrong, you see the ones that treat people well, the ones that people who were treating me well, people who were looking down on me, and you can learn a lot about the job from just seeing how it all works and seeing how things behind the scenes work. A lot when I was 18 to 21, thinking, right, I might want to get into this line of work. I was thinking, well, I don't want to be cutting interviews. I don't want to be cutting picture. I don't want to be doing that. How's that going to help me? What you realize is that really helps you, because it means that you can see how every single part of any television production works.
Yeah.
You see it all. And doing that was like an apprenticeship, like cleaning the boots, making sure that the changing rooms are all tidy. If you're playing football in an academy, it's like you see the way the players around you that you aspire to be are behaving.
Yeah.
And you can learn from their positives and also from their negatives. And there were so many perks to it. I honestly, I look back and look at that as a great time. I mean, there was very little pay, but I was getting paid. Yeah. I could have been doing placements all over the place just to improve my CV, and which is a good thing to do. But in your mind, you're thinking, am I actually ever going to get a job out of this? It wasn't free labor. This guy weren't using me. I had a proper job and was getting paid for it. Yeah. But crucially, it was on the bottom of a ladder that I wanted to be on, that I knew I wanted to climb.
I'm just curious, Tom, did you ever get Mike Wedderburn's coffee wrong or anything like that?
Well, I actually was mainly doing the football department.
Okay.
So rather than Sky Sports News, because Sky Sports News it is all journalism, you see. So I had to kind of do a little bit. I had to work very hard to get from Sky Sports to Sky Sports News. So it was mainly Richard Keys, Andy Gray. There was a presenter called Marcus Buckland, who's still around but not at Sky anymore. He went from the football department to tennis. Claire Tomlinson, who I now work alongside, I consider to be a really good friend. She's one of the best people I've ever met in my life. Absolutely love her. But I was looking after people like that and guests. So in terms of getting coffee wrong, I got Ruud Gullitt's coffee wrong once. And he asked me, now I don't drink tea and coffee. I've had one sip of tea in my life, didn't like it, never done it again. Never even had one sip of coffee, right? So it was kind of, I don't know if it's ironic or coincidental. I get the two mixed up. I don't know which one it was, but it was ironic that I was having to make teas and coffees when I'd never made them for myself. Yeah. Ruud Gullitt said to me, "Can I have an espresso?" Right now, there's a tiny little kitchen next to this big studio. You're nowhere near the canteen, so you can't go over and ask for a proper espresso. So he asked me for an espresso. No one had ever asked me for one before. And I just thought, right, okay, well, I know that they're small, right? So I got like just a normal sized cup. I know they're small, I know they're strong. So I got, I just put a lot less water in, about a quarter of the water you'd normally do, or maybe even an eighth of the normal water I'd normally put in the boiling water, but double the amount of coffee and mix it up. And I thought, right, well, that must be an espresso. Gave it to him, and he just went and took a sip of it. And I said, I don't swear unless I'm doing an impression of him. So how does it work? Can I say one swear word on this, or is it?
Oh, mate. After Martin Carruthers last week, you could say anything you want.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I right. See, because I don't even swear in real life unless I'm doing an impression of someone. And Ruud Gullitt took one sip of this, and he's there with Andy Gray, Richard Keys, and I think it was David Platt on his right, and he just took one sip of that and just went, "This is shit," and threw it across the studio floor. So, and I like all of the, Richard Keys, Annie Gray, and David Platt, they all laughed, and Ruud Gullitt saw the funny side of it. But the person who was the floor manager, who I suppose was kind of in charge of me at that time, he gave me an absolute rollicking for getting it wrong, for getting this for not knowing how to make an espresso. And then, of course, there's my version of espresso all over the floor, which obviously I had to go clean up anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you not say to him, "I'm not a Costa coffee, I just do a normal tea or coffee"?
Back in those days, you keep your head down, you do as you're told.
Yeah.
It would be easy now if they had a run, because they have all posh coffee machines and all sorts.
Delivery, everything
now
else.
there's Skies. It's actually it's even a different building now, and there's baristas, as they're called, all over the place. You can't. Someone else does it for you now. But I wish it was like that when I was there. It's character building. And
worth it for the anecdote.
Yeah, and the thing is, most of the guests that you're looking after are lovely. Most of the guests, most of the presenters are brilliant. And like I say, sometimes you meet them. I actually used to have not that I'm fanatical, but my Italian team is Sampdoria. I used to have a Sampdoria shirt with Gullitt on the back.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's like kind of meeting one of my heroes. But by then he'd been Newcastle manager, so I'd obviously turned against him then, even though Ruud Gullitt was great for Sunderland actually while he was Newcastle. But in general, people are actually very nice to you, mainly.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
So Sky Sports has revolutionised football transfers, and particularly the transfer deadline day. What's it like being behind the scenes and being involved in a deadline day?
It's the beauty of it is, I quite like that you can't plan anything. It's like you think you might know a few things that are going on, but my phone could ring at any time with a story, and it does. And they're the best days. It's the whole day. The producers have to put a plan in, right? But there's no point. It's only really if nothing happens, because the whole day is based around. It's like a blank canvas. One of the reporters, all of the journalists around, they're phoning to try to get stories. They're getting calls from agents, managers, chief executives, and you get the hint of a story, you chase it up, you speak to the clubs involved, you try to speak to anyone else who could be involved in the deal, who you trust, and it goes from there. And the stories, some stories flow to you on deadline day. Sometimes, if it is quieter, you don't stop. You never put the phone down. You're constantly ringing, trying to find out what's going on. And I'm certainly not big-headed enough to think that if Sky don't break it first, it's not happening. Sometimes you might see it on another platform. You might hear it on TalkSport. You might see it in the Mail online. You see that there might be a big transfer happening, and you chase it up yourself. You say, okay, well, I'm not going to just go, well, because I haven't got that story myself, I'm just going to imagine it's not true. It doesn't work like that.
No.
And you can chase the story up. And what happens at Sky quite a lot is sometimes, quite often, someone else will break the story first, but people don't believe it until they see it on the breaking news and Sky Sports News.
On the tick.
And that's
absolutely right.
Because what we could do is, right, get a hint of a story and run with it, right?
Yeah.
But we might not have checked with both clubs. We might not have checked with other sources. We might not be fully comfortable with it, but it would mean we're first. Okay, well, we might be first, but we might be wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So if we see a story elsewhere, or if, we've got little bits of a story and we're not sure about it, we will wait until we are absolutely certain that story is true.
Yeah.
And I prefer the reputation of we don't trust it till we see it on Sky Sports News, rather than the reputation of first with the breaking news. Because it could be first, but if it's wrong, I mean, that can ruin your own reputation as a journalist and as actually an organisation very quickly.
I think that's
right.
important.
You have got that rep. I was just going to back up what Tom said there. You're absolutely right. The amount of times I'm a Burnley fan, Josh is a United fan, and Nick's a Derby fan. And speaking from a Burnley perspective, the amount of times on deadline day we've heard, around Twitter and whatever, such and such is coming to Turf Moor. And you have Sky Sports News on all day, even if you're at work, obviously. And you just don't believe it for a second until you see it at the bottom of the screen. So I always wonder about stuff like that. So it's interesting to hear that there might actually be some truth. It's bubbling around on Twitter. There's various journos. Shout out to Reluctant Nico, who might be throwing some stuff out there on Twitter. And maybe Sky will pick it up after a certain amount. Does it need to get a certain amount of retweets or interest before you look into it? Or
no, I mean, quite often if someone goes with a story elsewhere, we will have also heard that story, but we'll be in the process of checking it out.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Quite often. Also, sometimes it is if the actual journalist has a good history of getting things right, then straight away we'll look into that too. Yeah. It's not like a kind of number of retweets or anything like that. It tends to be, does the story sound like it could actually have legs?
Yeah.
Like if you see rumors going around on Twitter all the time. Now remember that anyone can start a rumor on Twitter. Yeah. Anyone can, absolutely. Right? That's the difference between social media to the sort of old school way of doing it. Anyone can start a rumor that could be complete nonsense. They might just do it for a joke. Yeah. They might do it for their own reasons. But it can go viral, and there's loads and loads of stories like that. And sometimes it just takes one phone call to find out that is absolute nonsense. And sometimes it's quite nice to just throw a story out like that and say, look, we've spoken to such and such. It's not true. Yeah. We know that this story's gone viral that, could you say, a Burnley fan, that let's think of a kind of a realistic one. Fikayo Tomori is going on loan to Burnley, right? Okay, let's say, yeah, you definitely would. He's class. I can't believe he's fifth choice centre back for Chelsea. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Let's say that's going around and everyone's saying it's done. We might just need to phone Frank Lampard and say, which we can do.
Yeah,
look, this story's everywhere and we haven't got it. I mean, is it true? Is he actually going to Burnley? Or we can call Sean Dyche, whatever. And Frank Lampard says, I'm in the canteen right now. Fikayo Tomori is on the table next to me. So how can he be having a medical at Burnley? Right, done. Yeah. And then we can actually, even though we've never touched that story, we can say reports that Fikayo Tomori is set to join Burnley, or is having a medical at Burnley ahead of a loan move, are false. Fikayo Tomori is currently at the Chelsea training ground.
Yeah.
Right. So even though we haven't touched the story, we can kind of at least tell people who, like, Burnley fans are excited about it, Chelsea fans who are concerned about it, other club fans that want Tomori.
Yeah.
We can actually say, don't worry, this, the story is now that at the moment there is no story.
Yeah.
And we can tell people that we're still actually informing people, even though actually there's no story.
Yeah. And that just adds another sort of layer of legitimacy, I guess, to just Sky Sports to say, look,
yeah,
don't believe everything you read on Twitter. Because if every Twitter rumor were true, I think Man United would have a squad of about 17 million players.
Yeah. Yeah.
17 times as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, the last time a Manchester United manager got sacked, I was going on air 10 minutes late. It was supposed to be Jose Mourinho got sacked. We used to have a show called Sports Women, which was I think it was 11:30 till 12, and I was supposed to go on air at 12. But at 20, I might be getting the times wrong when Sports Women was and stuff, but 10 minutes before Sports Women was about to start, Mourinho got sacked. Right? We found out that Mourinho got sacked, and the Sports Women producer was running around the studio trying to find me because knowing that I was going on at 12.
Yeah.
And she eventually found me. She said, Tom, you've got to go on in 10 minutes. You've got to go on at 11:30 Mourinho's been sacked. We can't do sports swimming because you can't. They can pre-record sports swimming and play it out because you can't really ignore the fact that Mourinho story that big. That's what happens. If, like when Arsene Wenger it was announced that he would leave at the end of the season, we cancelled everything and just had a day about Wenger. Yeah. So I remember like 10 minutes. I was thinking I had 40 minutes to get ready to go on air, but actually it didn't matter because we knew that we were only going to be talking about Mourinho and Manchester United for the rest of the day. Yeah. So there was no point worrying about any other prep that I was supposed to do. Yeah. It was a case of you've got. I was already ready and I'd already been to makeup. The only problem would have been if I wasn't, I would have had 10 minutes to do it and get my mic on and everything. And that's the kind of thing I live for. I live for big stories like that. When there's a big story at home, I love watching it, but I'm also a bit gutted that I'm not in.
Yeah.
Because it's what a great day it is. And I love getting instant reaction as well. When there's a big story, I love getting my phone out and trying to get some of my contacts to come on the phone and give some sort of reaction. I live for that. So when you're saying there about rumours of Solskjaer being sacked 17 times and stuff, when big stories like that happen, although it's horrible for them, it's really good to be at the centre of it at work.
You can see that. I think that's one of the main reasons Sky Sports News is as great as it is. I've watched, I don't know how long it's been, 20 odd years or whatever, but you can see that the presenters enjoy it. Yeah. That that you're football fans and that it's exciting to you as well, even if it's a club you're not, involved in, or it's not, you're not a fan of that club. It's always a big deal when you put your hand to your ear and you can see that face on, and that goes for all presenters. It's really great to watch. It is entertainment.
It is.
Yeah, and the thing is, we are. I mean, everybody is an all-round sports fan, but in terms of, a lot of us are what I would describe as proper football fans. We're based in London, so not everyone can be a season ticket holder. But Rob Watson, for instance, is a Chelsea season ticket holder, right? Julian Waters is an Arsenal season ticket holder. Pete Graves is a proper Newcastle fan, but me and him work most Saturdays. We can't. Although he does actually still live in Newcastle, he can't really be. It would be a waste of money being a season ticket holder. But he's a proper Newcastle fan. Exactly same with David Garrido when it comes to Sheffield Wednesday. With me, with Sunderland, most of my holiday entitlement each year is spent on booking Saturdays off to go to Sunderland away games because I can't think of anything better to use the holiday up on. Yeah. And I mean, we haven't been for a while. Our actually, the last game fans were allowed in, I was there, away at Bristol Rovers, which was a Tuesday night at the start of March last year. But we are, and I'm not the only one there. I mean, Natalie Sawyer's not there anymore, but she doesn't need to be a Brentford season ticket holder because she's allowed in whenever she wants, with whoever she wants. So again, a proper fan, and Kate Mason is a proper Tottenham fan. I would describe her as that as well. And Julian Warren, a proper Everton fan. We are. Yes. We're doing a job that we love. And I'd like to think that people can relate to us, or they certainly feel that they can relate to us once they realise that we are a bigger fan as they are sitting at home.
Yeah. And it does look right. It certainly transpires across the screen. I mean, I don't know what you can never pull the stats up for what channels I watch, but I guess Sky Sports News, I just come in and it's just a habit now. Telly on 409.
Yeah.
Without even knowing it, Sky Sports News is just on. But no, it's great, and it is great that you are all supporters. I'll have to watch out for Rob. I didn't know he was a Chelsea fan when he's doing his ref watch. See if he's.
No, he gives certain hints to it. Great man though, Robbie. I still think he's one of the best.
Yeah.
Like him, Julian Waters and Claire Tomlinson, I would say, in my opinion, the three best.
Yeah.
At Sky Sports News. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, they're the ones that I've learned the most from. Anyway, those three.
Brilliant.
So, talking to Sunderland, then, what are your thoughts on them at the moment in sort of their rocky few years? How do you sort of see Sunderland progressing in this season?
Well, it's not rocky. I mean, rocky, it kind of, it is, Rocky, you get a few knocks, but you're still okay. We're not okay. We hit the wrong rocks and sank a long time ago, and I'm not actually convinced that we've stopped sinking yet. I'm not sure we're at the bottom of the ocean yet. It is awful. All you can do is joke about it, really, because it is. We had years of surviving on the second last day. Or we always survive on the second last day. Di Canio, we stayed up on the second last day because Wigan lost against Arsenal in the midweek, so we didn't have to go to the final game away at Tottenham and get anything. Then Poyet, we survived by beating West Brom midweek, second last game of the season. Again, Dick Advocat, we got a draw away at Arsenal, which I went to with Julian Waters actually, in the Arsenal end. Drew 0-0, didn't have to win on the last day of the season. Allardyce beat Everton midweek, didn't have to get anything against Watford, final day of the season. Second last day of the season, we always then finally went down under Moyes. And although there was pure elation when you survive and you think, that's been an awful season, but it's all worth it because we can celebrate all summer the fact we're still in the Premier League.
Yeah.
We went down under Moyes. It felt like a bit of a relief. It's like, it's been so bad. Now we're in the Championship, and I love the Championship because there's more games. The standard is still high. And I thought, well, we're coming down from the Premier League. We're actually going to win more than we lose, is what I thought. I actually thought we'd finish top 10. I didn't think we'd make playoffs. I thought I'm being realistic to think we'll finish top 10. But we got relegated straight away. And that one really hurt because I was really looking forward to that season. And it was worse. It was worse than being in the Premier League because when I say there's more games to look forward to, it was even more defeats. Yeah. It was awful. And we went down and it felt like you kind of feel like you didn't have a summer because you felt so bad. Now, there was a takeover, which at the time we thought was sent from heaven, which turned out not to be, but that kind of lifted the spirits a bit. And admittedly, that first season in League One, when we lost in the playoff final, I actually really enjoyed the season. Yeah. I could cope with losing in the playoff final because I thought, I should do it all again, but slightly better because I really enjoyed the season. Yeah. The last season was going really badly. I don't think we would have gone up, pandemic or not. I was massively against the points per game system and the league being curtailed because I think the EFL should have paid for testing. I think it was quite weak of the EFL not to. So although I was against that wasn't for selfish reasons because I didn't think we were going up anyway. So last season was awful. And this season, we're not halfway through yet, so there's still a glimmer of hope. But it's no better. No. And not being able to go is hellish as well. So from the kind of relief of being relegated from the Premier League, it hasn't got any better. No. You know? So it's being a Sunderland fan has been horrible. We have just had another takeover, which again, cautiously optimistic about. But it's been we haven't had it worse than everybody, by the way. But as a Sunderland fan, a lot of people feel sorry for us and with good reason because it has been pure hell. But people have had it worse. Blackpool had it really bad for a long time. Charlton had it really bad for a long time. Oldham as well, because they're so far down. People maybe don't give them as much attention as they deserve. They've had it bad. Clubs have gone out of business. I mean, Bury going out of business. You just think it makes you feel sick at the thought that could be your club. Bolton were only just saved, but for how long?
Yeah. What you're saying there, though, all them clubs you've listed off the top of my head, one thing that is consistent through them all is a takeover. Obviously, going back to Sunderland, it started with Ellis Short. You'd have to say lack of investment in the team, poor managerial appointments, maybe. And
there was no under Ellis Short. There was no lack of investment in the team. He if anything, he gave loads of money, but to the wrong people to spend it. Yeah. He trusted the wrong people to spend it. He also used to change his mind a lot, but that's something he actually can't be accused of is lack of investment. But then he decided he didn't want the club anymore, and even though it wasn't sold, he took a backseat. He became an absent owner. But you are right that the issue is ownership of all these clubs. People will buy the club for their own reasons, and the club lose money, but these owners seem to still make money from it.
Yeah.
And I said there that I wasn't happy that the EFL, I felt they were a little bit weak in not making sure EFL, the League One and League Two season ended, and I felt that they could have secured funding for testing from elsewhere, like they have miraculously in the last month or so from the PFA and from the Premier League. It's the EFL who approve these takeovers. So something isn't right. Now, I'm sure that they will mean well. I mean, there's no way that EFL would mean for someone to take over and their club go out of business. Definitely not. I'm not saying that at all. But they definitely need to have more stringent ways of finding out what these owners' intentions are. And if the rumours are true about the Wigan one, that is just absolutely baffling. If what happened with them going into administration last year is true,
I mean,
that is
to Burnley right now. I don't know if you know much about our takeover, Tom. We were obviously taken over 2 weeks ago. I like to be an optimist. We've been owned by local businessmen at Burnley my whole life, stretching back to the 60s. Obviously, we've been taken over by an American consortium, and you start to think, "Oh, brilliant! This is it. We're the Man City of Lancashire and all of this." But the reality is there are a lot of questions. Where's this money coming from? That's still not been answered. There's a huge loan been immediately put on top of the club of £80 million. Yeah. That's all well and good while we service it while we're in the Premier League. Absolutely knackered if we get relegated. And it does just seem like the jurisdiction around these takeovers isn't there to the level it perhaps should be when you see what's happened at Bury, especially with what was his name? Something Dale, I forget his name.
Yeah, Steve Dale, I think it was.
Steve Dale, yeah.
The thing is with Burnley, I love the way Burnley has been run.
Yeah.
I think that they got to the Premier League, went straight back down, but kept the manager, didn't splash the cash, used the parachute payments effectively to get back up, stay in the Premier League all these years, sign players that are going to be worth more money. That doesn't necessarily mean that you sell them. No. It doesn't mean that you necessarily buy them to sell them.
Yeah.
But you buy them, they play really well for you. Their value goes up because they're playing well for you. Like you spent £10 million on Jeff Hendry. I think it was £10 million. Let him go for free. All right, that probably wasn't so great. He could have done with a new contract, even sign a new contract and sell him for £7 million. You know what I mean? In general, Burnley's business is very, very good. I just hope that over the years, when you've been staying in the Premier League, and I think you've got one of the best managers the Premier League's ever had, by the way. And I would argue, I could give a very strong argument to that. It would take a while, but I could give a very strong argument to that. I hope the money that you've been making has been put back into training facilities.
Yeah.
If it has been, youth development, definitely. And bringing into your academy. I hope the money is being invested in that way, rather than potentially going in the pocket of what would now be new owners. Yeah. But I love that on the pitch. In terms of the transfers. I love the way Burnley has been run, and you've got the perfect manager for it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In terms of training ground, academy, Dyche was the one who actually insisted upon where that money went. I think when we got promoted the second time, because obviously we did get relegated under him initially, and we spent, I think, £11 million on a training ground. We're a Category 1 Premier League academy now. So,
right,
like
perfect. So that's the thing.
Dyche is just incredible.
Yeah, but all this money that's come, this takeover, even if it's true about all the money, you're doing so well at the moment, like to keep staying up. You just need you do need a little bit more. But my sort of only worry for Burnley is because I don't know whether those rumours about that takeover are true or I don't know. It might be amazing, right? But I think without Sean Dyche, I think you are potentially mid-table championship. Right,
and that's what we were, yeah.
and I think he is the absolute key to you. And how long can you keep him for? I can't believe that even though he was heavily linked with the Everton job when When Allardyce got it first, when Allardyce got it as caretaker, till the end of the season, and again when Marco Silva got it, Dyche was heavily linked with it. But I can tell you now he wasn't on the shortlist. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And you think, why not? He would have been perfect for it. And how on earth did my favourite manager ever is Sam Allardyce, and when he left Everton, they replaced him with Marco Silva when they could have probably had Sean Dyche. You think, how on earth does Marco Silva qualify for that job ahead of the man he replaced in Sam Allardyce and ahead of Sean Dyche? What has Silva done? He got Hull relegated. He had a good start with Watford, then tailed off when he thought he could go to Everton in the first place.
Yeah.
How did he deserve that ahead of someone like Sean Dyche, let alone Sam Allardyce? It really annoys me. Sean Dyche does not get the respect he deserves whatsoever. If a big job came up, or any job in the Premier League came up now, I can guarantee they would go for Eddie Howe over Sean Dyche.
Yep. And having had the pleasure of both at Burnley, I'll tell you.
I know you did, yes. Yeah, of course you did. Eddie Howe also at Bournemouth was given a lot more money to spend than Sean Dyche has been given at Burnley. And there's no doubt that Eddie Howe plays a good brand of football. It's a brand of football that eventually got Bournemouth relegated, which was a surprise. Sean Dyche, I like Sean Dyche's style of play, but others don't. But he has proved that he is just an excellent manager. And I just really hope for your sake that you keep him, because I like Burnley. I like the way the club's run. I love him. Absolutely love him.
You're not going to get any arguments from us three, Tom. We've got a Burnley fan and two local Chesterfield boys. So,
good.
Big Sean Dyche fans.
Good.
So, last thing to touch on about Sunderland before we go on to a little sort of 5-question quiz, if that's all right. What do you make of the Netflix documentary Sunderland Till I Die?
It's difficult to watch because you know how it ends. Yeah. Right? If you're watching it out in America, and apparently a huge hit out in America, they probably didn't know. It's like when the Salford documentary started when they were non-league.
Yeah.
Although I knew what happens at the end, a lot of people will be watching that thinking, do they get promoted? What happens here? You know, does Seddons fire enough goals to get them? You know, I didn't know that part of it. And for a lot of people, it's great entertainment thinking, okay, I wonder what happens at the end. You know what happens at the end as a Sunderland fan. That part of it is horrible. But as fans, I felt that the fans came across so well. It was clear how much passion was there. And we're always, as Sunderland fans, we're probably more proud of our passion than anything else. It was obvious how passionate we were. Obviously how much it hurt us that our club was struggling. And it also gave everybody an insight into how a club is being run, which is interesting. So it's interesting to see, even though a lot of it was quite frustrating, especially in the second series, but on deadline day with Jack Ross saying that Will Grigg is definitely not worth more than £1.2 million, and then we spent £3 million rising to £4 behind the manager's back. You can even see the funny side to that. But I loved it. I was devastated that it's not carrying on. And the reason it's not carrying on is because everyone at the club blamed it for our lack of promotion, or in the first place relegation. They said there was too much pressure with the cameras being there, which I think is just an excuse. I wish it was still going.
Yeah.
But so in short, I like it, but mainly because the fans come across really well.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Oh, go on, sorry, Josh.
No, I was going to say there was like a lot of memes and sort of ridicule that came from it, but it was all aimed at maybe players or mainly the owners at the time. Yeah. I don't think any of it was at the fans. I think you're right. It came across that there are a bunch of people who love the football and love the club.
I think that's it. I think whenever real fans see other real fans, kind of, when you see their pain, you feel it too, because you know what it's like. I think people respect, if you're a proper football fan, you respect anyone else who's a proper football fan, even if they support a club that you don't like. Yeah. Even the vast majority of my friends are actually Newcastle fans, which just means that my life has been absolute pure hell, especially when they did so well under Keegan. God, we were struggling at the bottom of what is now the Championship, but was then, Division 2 and then Division 1. Even they were saying like this, it was quite hard to see the pain because they felt it as well.
Yeah.
Any real fan has felt that pain at some point. It might be someone getting relegated from the Championship is very hard for us to see, but even a Manchester United fan not qualifying for the Champions League, you've still got that pain.
Yeah.
Or just the thought of what the Aguero goal would have done to Manchester United fans is like, yeah, you've had that pain, and it's you can relate to it, and you can feel sorry for each other, really.
Yeah.
And it definitely, that documentary I think as fans we were quite happy with how we came across. It certainly showed how much the fans love going to away days as well, which, I mean, it's just a massive day out on the lash, isn't it? And it's 10 times better if you win, but you can take an away defeat, having had a great day with a load of friends and meeting a load of new friends. You can take it a lot more than a home match, when really home matches, I think when I go to a home match, I'm mainly there just mainly for the football rather than the day out.
Yeah.
And we came across well, and for that I'm happy. But the people that the production company are Sunderland fans. Fulwell 73. Fulwell was the old Fulwell end at Roker Park. 73 is when we last won the FA Cup. That's why the production company is called Fulwell 73. They do all the James Corden stuff out in America. Yeah. And so we should really come across well, shouldn't we, if it's some fans with a production company?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that was pretty much what I was going to cover off with you, Josh, anyway. But do you want to run through the quiz?
Yeah, so it's just a quick 5 questions, and as I'm calling it, you're the face of Sky Sports transfers. There, I've put it out there, Tom. It's
lovely, great. I'm happy to have that. You can spread that nickname nicely.
So it's just a bit of a quiz based around transfers, really, nothing too serious. So, number 1, when was the transfer window brought into English football? Was it 2000, 2001 or 2002?
As in the way it is currently, or when it ended at the end of March, at the middle of March? Because there was always a transfer deadline.
So, as it is currently, I believe.
As it is currently, I actually think as it is currently was a lot later than any of those, I think. But so I'll go for the latest that you've given me of 2002.
the answer I had was 2002. So I don't.
I think it was
2004. And the reason I say that is I'm sure I remember on the first Burnley deadline day us signing Dele Adebola. So I'm just putting that out there, Josh.
Well, Quizmaster says 2002. I'm going to write.
I was going to go for the latest there, so I'll have it. I got it right, so I won't be contesting it.
Okay, so a transfer record that most people thought would be broken the summer just gone, with the potential arrival of Jadon Sancho, was the British transfer record. Of course, Sancho stayed at Dortmund. Which player remains the most expensive player signed by a British club?
Right, well, good question, because initially I was going to say Pogba, but now I'm thinking that Lukaku. They were both more than Van Dijk, because Van Dijk was 75. Now, was Pogba 80 or 90, and was Lukaku Pogba, or was Lukaku 80 or 90? Sorry. I think something is telling me that it was Pogba was more than Lukaku.
It is Paul Pogba, and I do have a feeling you'll be saying his name quite a lot this coming summer as well.
I don't think it'll be January, but I think summer, yes.
Yeah. It's 2 from 2. Number 3, sticking to a similar topic, who was the most expensive Premier League signing in the summer of 2020?
Well, I should know that, because all I did was transfers all summer. I'm trying to think. Now Ruben Diaz was a bargain, so it'll not be him. Liverpool Thiago wasn't very much. Manchester United didn't go for Sancho in the end, or a centre-back. James Rodriguez wasn't that much. Although Diaz was a bargain, he might have actually been still the high. Oh no! Suddenly started thinking Nicolas Pepe, but that was a year before. Who did Arsenal sign? Can't remember signing anyone particularly expensive.
We're getting the inner workings of your brain here.
Yeah, I know, because now I'm thinking it must be a traditionally top 6 club, but that could be wrong too. It definitely wasn't Leicester. So who did Tottenham sign? Carlos Vinicius wasn't much. Bale was only on loan. Oh, Chelsea. Kai Havertz.
Correct. Yeah.
That's class how everything went round there. You got to Chelsea, boom.
Yes, I was thinking. I thought it's not Ruben. I thought it can't be Ruben Diaz, but it's Havertz, right? Good.
I have it 72 million, which no other club really got close to Chelsea this summer with the pandemic and what came with it. Okay, 3 from 3. Question 4: what was the last year that crowds were allowed to gather behind reporters? Obviously, reporters have now been moved to a safe distance on deadline day.
Yes, and we know why.
We do know why.
One of the original questions was going to be what colour was it, but we won't go there.
It's etched in my brain, that one. And
bonus point for the colour.
Marking Alan Irwin's ear as well.
Yeah.
Well, actually, to be honest, this will be a guess. This because I can't think which actual transfers were going on at that time. So I'm going to go to. I'll say 20. I'll say that the last one was 2015.
So it was 2014. So it was from 2015 that they'd moved away. I think it was a fairly quiet transfer window. I think it might have been Falcao to United at about 20 in the morning. That one, I think.
Right. There was a few. It wasn't just that incident with the ear either. There was quite a bit going on that wasn't part of the camp. There was quite a bit of there was one. I mean, I won't say it's a bit unfair on because it kind of taints the club when it's only actually a few fans. But there was one club that really, it was kind of a policing job. It was quite scary actually for the people involved.
Yeah, and it's just not what it needed to be. Just I think
it's a shame because it was always so much fun.
It was, yeah. But obviously the reporter's safety and things like that goes without saying becomes obviously more important. Right, number 5, final question. Who is Sunderland's record signing?
Didier Ndong, £13.6 million, worst signing we've ever made. And he came in for £13.6 million. 2 years later, he was sacked.
Yeah, Tom, 5 out of 5, and that is it. Thank you. 4 out of 5. Let's edit that as well. Let's start. Yeah, Tom, 4 out of 5, and I think that's everything. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I know you're a very busy man, and I'll see you when you're next on news.
No, thanks for having me. I'm so sorry I'm late. I am late for nothing, right? but I've been late for your podcast, so I cannot apologise enough for that. I'm very sorry.
No problem. Give it a shout out on deadline day, and we'll forgive you. Brilliant, Tom. Thank you
very much, mate.
Tom, see you later,
lads.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers,
Bye.
Mate. Bye.
What a great guy Tom White is, and it's amazing to get an insight into what goes on Sky Sports News. But let's get on with our weekend fixtures. And Luke, Chelsea Burnley 2-0. What happened?
Absolutely battered. Best I've seen Chelsea play all season. So yeah, no complaints from me at all. We played well for 15 minutes, and then for some reason just thought, I feel sorry for Thomas Tuchel. Just give him a nice head start, and we just sat off him. Really poor, but
Did Mason Mount look sad, or were you all right?
Played well. One of their best players. Possibly their best player, actually. Yeah.
Interesting that he brought Alonso back in, weren't it?
Yeah, bit weird. I don't know if you saw when Chilwell got subbed the other day as well for him. Chilwell kind of went.
Yeah.
So maybe Tuchel doesn't rate him.
He said it was something. They said on Sky, he'd said it was to do with his height at set pieces or something. I don't know. Maybe that's just something that you say when you've got a dwarf at left back.
All right, end it there. Alonso came in and scored an absolute stunner, so he ain't getting dropped, is he?
No.
Right, Man United, Arsenal, as we predicted. Me and Luke got 5 points. Josh, 0-0.
Yeah, it finished 0-0.
That's enough to say on that one, yeah?
Yeah.
Who were the performer?
I think United would be happy with a point with weight game when Arsenal came on strong in the second half, and if any team deserved to win, they probably edged it. It were our game plan for the big games this season seems to be sit back, soak up pressure, try him on break. Cavani had a great chance right at end, so same as Liverpool game, very very nearly worked, but for poor finishing. So yeah, take a point if you can draw it the bigger teams away and beat them at home, beat the smaller teams. You'll not be far off, will you?
Yeah, and then Derby 1-0 against Bristol City. I gave Derby a bit of an hard one last week. I think I said absolutely pathetic, but we won 1-0. But what I mean by that is that we go 1-0 up and then we just defend for our lives. I mean, Christian Bielik got injured, which is going to be a massive loss, but
yeah,
I think we're on the up, 3 wins on trot now. So see what happens Tuesday against Rotherham.
Yeah,
which will have happened when this gets released. So right, this week's
don't go down. Sorry. So
this week's predictions: Barnsley, Derby. Luke, what do you think?
Barnsley are quite good, aren't they? Or they were last time I looked at the table, weren't they in playoff?
Yeah, I'm not sure that high.
I think
they've fallen off track a bit.
Yeah,
I'll say 1-1, which I don't think is a bad result away at a team that's done reasonably well this season.
No, I'll take that. I'm going to stick with it and say 1-0 Derby. Because I don't think we'll get another goal, and we're defending very well. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, just checking. They're down in 12th now, Barnsley, but it's still a good season for them because I think a lot had them down, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think Derby will win, and 1-0 seems to be a score that's quite popular with you. So yeah, I'll go 1-0 as well.
Right, staying with you then, Josh. We've got Burnley, Brighton.
Oh. 1-0 Burnley.
Luke?
2-1 Burnley.
I'm going to go ballsy and say 3-0 Burnley.
Wow.
But I think Brighton I'm sure I've seen a stat on BT Score, and they were saying like Brighton are the 4th most creative team. They've created the 4th most chances in Premier League. Right, Luke, Man United versus Everton.
Ooh.
Is he froze?
I'm not sure he's there.
No, it's an hard one to call that. Everton were really, really poor against Newcastle. I don't know what United look like. They lack a bit of creativity at the minute, though. And I can see that this being a pretty boring draw, but I can't decide if it's going to be 1-1 or 0-0. I'm going to say 1-1.
And I'm going to stick Man United 1-0. What do you think, Josh?
I'd be disappointed if we can't put a couple past old T-Rex arms. They are bad, aren't they? They started well, and then they've done what Everton do, and they're just nothing, are they? They're a bit of a nothing team. Yeah, but they never win out. Like, they should be better than they are. The fan base and stuff, the manager they've got, the players they've got. I thought this season might have been a season where Everton really kick on, and then they go and lose to Newcastle at home. United have beat them twice this season already, but both times at Goodison Park. We are better away. I think we'll beat them again, but it won't be anything too pretty. We don't create if Bruno doesn't turn up. We don't play well if Bruno doesn't turn up. So if he does, we might win like 2 or 3-0. I don't think he will, so I'll go for 1-0.
Cool. All of that, just say 1-0. Cheers, Josh. Right, make sure you are joining us next week for Paul Devlin. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Pie and a pint. Pie and a